Good evening and welcome to the 2024 Fire Association's conference. I am both honored and humbled to be able to speak to you tonight about the future of community risk reduction. My name is David Hoy and I am a captain on Ladder 81 from the South Essex Fire Department. I have been in the fire service for 15 years. 8 of those has been on a career department. We serve the towns of Maplewood, South Orange in New Jersey, which covers 6.8 miles and over 45,000 citizens. I hold an Associate's of Science in Fire Science from Southern Columbia University. I have a bachelor's degree in Hotel, Restaurant, and Institutional Management from Pennsylvania State University, and I'm currently working towards my Master's of Science in Fire Executive Leadership from Southern Columbia University. I am a New Jersey State Certified Fire Instructor, Fire Inspector, and an EMT. And I'm sure many of you are scratching your heads wondering, how does a hotel manager become a firefighter? Well, if you're still curious at the end, you can please come see me. But there's one thing, my goal today is for you to take back one thing from today, back to your department, to make it better. But in order for us to prepare the future, we must look to our past. Fire stirs many emotions. It creates fear, it creates curiosity. It can create light, warmth, and happiness. It can be destructive and erase all your history and belongings, including life. Now imagine a world where there was no tools or resources available to control fire. The elements that cause light to see at night, warmth to keep the night chill away, and keep back predators that fear fire. Now imagine a town back in the 1700s. The homes placed fire hearths were their only way to keep warm, cook their meals, and light their houses at night. When a fire got out of control, only Citizens Bucket Brigade would try to stop the house from burning to the ground. In the 1800s, that same town is built up even more and becomes more densely populated. Candles were used to light the hallways and rooms and houses. Now, a house that caught on fire could burn entire blocks or entire cities. Civilians created volunteer fire departments that carried water on horse-drawn carts in an effort to speed up the time to get to the scene. Now, in the early 1900s, electricity started powering the lighting inside the homes. Great strides were taken that utilized the current technology. Fire departments' horse-drawn carts became steam-powered carts. These carts became fuel-injected engines that was able to pump water and get to the scene even quicker. However, blocks of neighborhoods still burned to the ground. Now, at the close of the century, millennium approach, updates of firefighter clothes, tools, and apparatus emerged even quicker. However, we have always been chasing that new type of emergency that's been created by changes in buildings, furnishings, fuels, and people. From the 1700s to now, we have made changes in how we mitigate risk. The Bucket Brigade of the 1700s was a community risk plan that was developed to help their neighbors. The advent of volunteer fire departments that started in Philadelphia spread throughout the colonies. This form of risk mitigation recognized the dangers to their friends and loved ones in a form of a community profile. We as a nation have come across many challenges and some opportunities to combat those challenges. Have we been proactive or have we been reactive? In order to be proactive, we need to look within our own fire departments in the towns that we protect to identify the challenges that we face. With every challenge, there's an opportunity to overcome it. And today, we will together find a way to identify those challenges, seek those opportunities, ensure that our communities are cared for with the best customer service and absolute servant leadership they deserve. We have seen changes in the workforce in society. In the last 5 years, Americans have seen a change in how we go to work and the amount of battery-dependable products. Now, according to Forbes, 12.7% of full-time employees work from home, illustrating the rapid normalization of remote work environments. Simultaneously, a significant 28.2% of employees have adapted to a hybrid work model. Now, that hybrid model is a combination of both home and in-office working. offering flexibility and maintaining a level of physical presence at the workplace. Now, looking ahead, the future of remote work seems promising. Multiple resources, including Upwork, state that by 2025, about 22% of the American workforce will be working remotely from home. Now, remember that. This projection suggests a continuous yet gradual shift towards remote work arrangements. In a 2021 census between 2019 and 2021, the number of people primarily working from home tripled from 5.7% to 17.9%. That's roughly 9 million people to 27.6 million people. Now, we all know this is due in part to the pandemic that radically changed how people went to work. In 6 years, Americans that work from home went from 5.7% to an estimated 22% in 2025. Now, despite the steady rise in remote work, the majority of the workforce, which is 59.1%, still work in office. This percentage underscores the fact that while remote work is on an upswing, traditional in-office work is far from obsolete. So how does this affect the fire service? Now, charging ports can be seen in many restaurants, stores, and airports. Plug-in charging stations for iPhones, iPads, and computers have increased due to their dependability in these everyday devices. As people work from home and go to virtual school, the increased use of electrical devices and charging stations creates the perfect combination for an electrical fire. Now, a study was conducted by the Michigan Fire Inspectors Society on electrical fires. According to the study, overloading outlets and power strips using damaged extension cords pushed under rugs and chairs can seal the deal for electrical fires. Now, with everything being virtual and needing electricity, people jam their digital devices to overfilled outlets and power strips, and causes a serious risk of fire due to the straining on the home's electrical systems. Additionally, a societal shift in the uses of battery lithium-ion batteries have been entering the market. Electric vehicles are becoming more popular. This is in part thanks to the President's initiative for 50% of all vehicles sold by 2030 to be zero-emission vehicles. Those vehicles, electric. Now, consumer and dealer incentives have attracted the market, leading to electric and hybrid vehicles flooding the market in New Jersey. The governor of New Jersey stated that by 2035, all newly sold vehicles and light-duty trucks in the state need to be either battery operated, either battery electric, plug-in hybrids, or fuel cell vehicles. Now, Tesla, as you can see, has sold more than 475,000 electric vehicles from 2019 to 2023. Now, think about that. That is a 243% increase in just 4 years. Now, this leads to 2 fire prevention challenges for fire departments in New Jersey. First, fighting fires are not like the typical gas-fueled fire. Disconnecting the battery and flowing water on a gas-fueled vehicle takes about 4 minutes to put out. For electric vehicles, it can take thousands of gallons of water, 2 engine pumpers, and possibly hours on scene before the fire is safely extinguished. In addition, an electrical vehicle's battery is not to be tampered with due to its deadly high voltage. Secondly, residential homes and apartment complexes are now installing charging stations. In residential homes, these charging stations are found in attached garages. Fires not originated from the charging station can cause considerable problems if your residential fire becomes fully involved. In addition to charging stations, photovoltaic roof shingles are slowly making their way into the residential market. For fireground operations, any sign of this is an immediate hazard to firefighters and allows no roof operations to be allowed. The New Jersey Fire Code only requires commercial buildings with photovoltaic roofs to have a placard on the outside of the building. Now, on a residential home, identifying photovoltaic shingles is difficult, especially at night. Only by seeing an inverter box on the exterior side of the home can it be identified. Now, everyone take a look. These shingles, would you think they're photovoltaic? At night, Could be even worse. This is during the daytime. So what does the future of fire prevention look like? We first need to understand how calls in New Jersey compare to the national average to give some perspective to others here in the room that may be from other states. Now, if you looked at a pie graph, you'll find that 6.6% of all calls are fire calls, compared to the national average of 4%. False alarms count for 27.5%, while the national average is about 7.9%. Now, good intent calls are slightly above the national average of 11.7%, compared to 11.3%. Now, the state does 11.1% service calls, while the national average is 7.7%. Now, the hazards encompasses explosions, hazardous materials, gas calls, etc., and account for 11.7%, while only 3% is the national average. Now, the greatest difference that you can see is the red. EMS counts for 30% of our fire calls, where the national average is 65%. According to U.S. Census Bureau, New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the country, with 1,263.2 people per square mile. This is compared to the national average of 34 people per square mile. Now, South Essex Fire Department operates a suburban population density of 6,200 people per square mile. Now, in order for the fire department to instill a proactive community risk reduction culture, the department must reflect on its values and mission statement. Now, the number one priority of the fire department that should be communicated clearly is the safety and the well-being of the firefighters. Safety and health starts with the organization values and beliefs. Therefore, the chief must be a student of change before changes can be imparted on others. These are all controlled through a good risk management program and need to be the foundation of the department through its primary values. In order for every member to understand this, it needs to be communicated regularly through every chain of command. These guidelines and procedures would reduce and mitigate firefighter injuries, and in addition, let firefighters know that they are valued employees and that their safety is important. Department members need to have an understanding, knowledge, training, and skills to evaluate each situation and decide how much risk is needed to get the job done. This thorough understanding of risk is strengthened with positive reinforcement up the chain of command. In order to hold the firefighters accountable, the officers need to hold themselves accountable first. By demonstrating and reinforcing safe practices, the officers lead by example for firefighters to follow. The firefighters must know that they take responsibility for their own safety and make risk-based decisions in the absence of a supervisor. Periodic formal and informal evaluation through training and skills development allows members to understand that safety is a primary value of the department. In order for community risk reduction program to be successful, the fire department needs to gain a healthy corporate perspective on how we operate on a daily basis. Now, this perspective sees the firefighters as internal customers and the civilian populace as the external customers. Now, if the internal customers reach a satisfactory point in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we'll discuss in a little bit, then their productivity increases. Now, a good social experiment through organizational behavior that demonstrates this concept is the Hawthorne effect. The Hawthorne effect, as it turns out, resulted in worker morale was boosted by the simple fact that company was interested in making changes and showed concern about the work environment and well-being. Even if employees didn't necessarily like the changes, they're bolstered by the fact that managers were trying to make improvements, which directly improved the productivity. The Hawthorne studies were a series of experiments conducted between 1924 and 1932 by Harvard University professors and employees of the Hawthorne Works of Western Electric Manufacturing Company in Cicero, Illinois. The initial purpose of the experiments was to investigate determinants of worker output. Among the results of the studies, however, were the emergence of the field of industrial sociology and recognition of the importance of social factors in worker behavior. There were 3 experiments that occurred over the 8-year period. The first experiment looked at a control group and experimental group that looked at the productivity of different light illuminations. The correlation resulted in increased productivity in both groups despite lighter or darker work environments. So as the employees worked, it got darker, their productivity increased. The work environment got lighter, the work productivity increased. And they went down as low as they could possibly be able to work, and the productivity still increased. The second experiment was a team of experiments that put rigid controls in place to prevent the 2 groups from mirroring their productivity. Now, however, despite the controls put in place during the experiment, the results were the same. The final experiment was focused on the assembly line with a cross from observers and the company's leaders. And the result was the same as previous 2. The productivity was increased. Now, the conclusion was that a teamwork and group esprit was formed because they felt valued and not threatened by management. They saw that management leaders as part of the team. This was the beginning of industrial sociology. Prior to this, management believed employees were motivated by enlightened, self-interested, laissez-faire approach. This shifted from individual approach to the group management approach. And industrial sociology provided a new and different way of looking at motivation and productivity, changing the nature of management-labor relations. It also focused on worker motivation rather than worker productivity. They found that they focused on what motivates a group, the productivity went up. So you're probably asking yourself, what does this have to do with the fire service? How can fire educators be motivated and prepared for effective and diverse fire safety education programs? Well, in the experiments, the employees felt valued and cared for. Our internal customers, the firefighters, must receive training and education, have safety guidelines, have health and wellness programs in place, and have a servant leadership mentality towards the community. Furthermore, the leadership of the fire department must make the time to ensure Maslow's hierarchy of needs are met. Now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid that starts at the most basics of life: breathing, food, water, sleep. Next is safety, security of body, employment resources, morality of the family, of health, or property. Once they reach that, love and belonging. Each one of these steps creates higher motivation. So let's look at the fire service. Are the most basic needs of physiological needs met? Let's look at it. For firefighters, does the firehouse spend 24 hours in a clean, maintained, and have available water and food? If it's 100 degrees outside, are they able to come in and rehab in an air-conditioned environment? Once these needs are met, they're more motivated. And next question is safety. Does the firefighters have a sense of belonging? Feel like they have all the equipment, tools, and training needed to feel safe inside and outside the firehouse? Next is friendship, family. Does the firefighters feel accepted and loved by their brothers? Or do they feel ostracized and discriminated against? Leadership needs to be aware and foster a positive environment and prevent a discriminated culture. Then we move on to self-esteem. Another motivating factor. Do firefighters have the self-esteem built up? Leaders need to find a balance of giving constructive feedback through coaching and counseling and still have a belief in the individuals. In the cognitive stage, firefighters feel like they are a productive member of their organization and that their opinions and concerns are valued, which gets us self-actualization, morality, creativity. Are they allowed to have problem solving? They lack prejudice. They accept facts. What a man can be, he must be, is the basis of the perceived need for self-actualization. It is a reward-based system that drives and motivates individuals to achieve a shared or individual goals. Now, the Hawthorne effect showed how worker morale is boosted by a simple fact that the company was interested in making changes and showed concern about their work environment and well-being. Even if employees didn't necessarily like the changes, they are bolstered by the fact that managers were trying to make improvements, which directly improved the productivity. So now, if we combined the Hawthorne effect and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then the culture of the fire department will be motivated by the mission statement and the department values that will help drive a proactive community risk reduction plan. It focused on developing a culture that encompassed the department as one group and motivate them through a mission statement and department values dedicated to serving the public, then the foundation is set to implement a proactive community risk reduction plan. If we apply the Hawthorne effect to the fire department through one shared goal as a group, then the motivation and positive culture can be displayed to the external customers that we serve, the community. Now, our second part of the question was, how can fire educator groups be prepared for effective and diverse fire safety education programs? We have multiple resources that are available to our departments through online channels, NFPA, NIST, grants, neighboring departments. However, these are general programs. We need to identify what groups are in our communities that we serve. We could do this by completing a community risk profile and using this profile to create positive relationships with community groups within the area. These community groups are our external customers. So how well we serve these external customers is how we create value for our department. Now, in publicly traded companies in the private sector, we call this stock. Company stocks is what creates value and confidence within a company. I'm sure many of us here in this room have invested in stocks and gave money to these companies and hope for something back in return. Now, as the value of stocks increases, so does the buying power of that company. This allows companies to have a higher budget and invest in additional equipment, payroll increases. In the public sector, our goals are the same. Our stakeholders are the citizens and the community groups that we serve. Now, the better our customer service and servant leadership, the better our department's image. Our stocks are an intangible byproduct of the service. If a fire department can convert these stocks into a larger budget, then the fire department has greater value. Now, a chief must ask himself, how can large diverse groups be motivated? The department must create a greater emphasis on community outreach. Fire educators and the departments must utilize the education and engineering components of the fire prevention. Attending Chamber of Commerce events and network with local communities is a good first step in educating the services that are available to the businesses. Now, just you being here is an opportunity for you to network and reach and find out what other neighboring departments are doing. Now, if we look within our communities, we look at the organizations would include Rotary Club, Kiwanis, business associations, Chamber of Commerce, Young Women's Business. And by educating the department services to these organizations informs that what's in it for me or with them. This could present opportunities to send fire department educators to these organizations and explain to them our mission statement and values. Now, the departments would schedule education seminars or general safety and the dangers of electric vehicles and lithium battery operated equipment. Now, the engineering side of prevention, as we all know in this room, there's 3 E's to fire prevention: education, enforcement, and engineering. Now, the engineering side of prevention would be to offer in-home smoke detector installations for homeowners, specifically senior citizens who are unable to get on the ladder to put up their own smoke detectors. These programs would reinforce the importance of working smoke detectors in the homes. Furthermore, participating in town events such as fairs with an education table would increase the value of the fire department. In conjunction with community outreach events, the next question that would need to be answered will be how to establish networking among communities within a state. Thus, we are here. We need to keep in mind that our jurisdiction may not be the only department focused on community outreach and creating value for our departments. Attending Chiefs Association meetings is a good way to network and find what other departments are doing. This networking opportunity enables us to learn what challenges, opportunities, and successes that others are facing. Sending fire educators to district or regional meetings throughout organizations that represent your town's jurisdiction. This allows for additional information and networking through higher channels that can lend support to our fire department's community risk reduction programs. So, what will be expected of our community risk reduction chief officers? These chief officers will first reinforce our internal customers, the firefighters, the value of community risk reduction program, and why it is important to them. They would then provide the educational materials and training on how to educate the public, as well as what above and beyond customer service looks like. The CRR chief officers would schedule, along with fire prevention, events that could focus on future fire prevention challenges such as electric vehicles and lithium-ion battery safety and awareness. The ultimate goal of the CRR chief officer needs to be communicated to the department. This goal is to mitigate the risk of the community and, in turn, the firefighters by mitigating risk through awareness and prevention. This program, if implemented successfully, would create value in our stakeholders and create confidence in our fire departments. Like in the private sector, we can hope that successfully and ongoing implementation of the program will lead to more budgeted dollars given to our departments. No one has a crystal ball to foresee the future. However, we know that there will be future challenges that may test our leadership abilities. The changing technology that has risen out of electric and hybrid vehicles, lithium-ion operated equipment, and photovoltaic shingles on houses is only the start. The use of electronics from work from home and overloading outlets in the homes are leading to more electrical fires. Will these continue on an upward trend as it has for the last 5 years? Or will there be another technology that will enter the market and challenge its progress? Will a cyclical down economy cut budget spending and eliminate programs? These are all valid questions that a chief must be prepared for in today's world. Community risk reduction has been around as early as the 1800s and before in America. This was out of necessity, with its citizens pulling together and implementing a plan. As chief officers, we need to recognize our internal and external customers. We need to ensure our firefighters are valued and cared for, as demonstrated in the Hawthorne experiments. This will lead to positive experiences passed on to our external customers. Getting involved in the community through educating and engineering will create a positive image and value to our departments. Listening and gaining insight on the needs of the community by attending Chamber of Commerce events and networking with other chiefs around the state can help reinforce the needs of a community risk reduction program. The successful implementation of a community risk reduction program that adds value to the community will be difficult to cut out, even in a weak economy. So as you leave here today, I ask you this one question. What is your future challenges in the fire prevention? And what program will you put in place to mitigate those risks? Thank you very much.